share with you about South Minneapolis, about where I live and what has happened here, about living 4 blocks from the place where George Floyd's life was stolen and a global uprising was sparked. But truthfully, I haven't freely shared with you about even my basic everyday life. And this is as true for those of you I'm closest with as those of you I know very little. So I feel there's some work to be done first. In the past weeks, I have witnessed things that I believed to be impossible happen due to the bravery of people who refuse to settle for anything less than a different world. I am in awe and I am inspired to be brave and be real with you because I want very much for my connection to you to be authentic and our relations to be fulfilling. I am releasing fears that I've held on to for years so that I can be relieved of the burden of hiding things about me, and possibly my greatest hope so that I can begin to have the good and genuine relationships that I want to have in my life. The day that I decided to write you this letter was International Whores Day, a day that celebrates the anniversary of June 2nd, 1975, when a group of more than 100 prostitutes in Lyon, France occupied a church for several days in protest of police violence and scorn from puritanical civilians, singing songs with lyrics like, "You who threatened us with hell, we have come to sit at your table at Saint Nizier being the name of the church that they occupied. Since 1975, every year, sex workers, a term developed and chosen by those who consensually exchange sexual services for income, across the globe mobilize on June 2nd to raise awareness about the struggles for sex worker rights. The first thing I want to tell you is that for the past several years, the bulk of my income has been from providing consensual sexual services, adult entertainment, and romantic companionship to paying clientele whom I screen. I do sex work and am a sex worker. I have been doing this safely and effectively for about 7 years now. I am honest and open about this with my life partner Rames and with all my beloved friends, all of whom are not only totally accepting but are also incredibly supportive. Doing sex work is a choice that doesn't objectify me, but empowers me. It is not the only type of job that I do. As some of you know, I am also certified as a yoga teacher with a trauma-sensitive approach, and I work at Planned Parenthood supporting patients, but sex work has been my primary income for years now. At this point, your mind may be jumping to the stories we are told about sex workers. There are many myths people learn about how and why people become sex workers. One such story is that the only conditions under which someone sells sexual services is if they are extremely unstable and traumatized. I hope you can hear me when I say that I am a sex worker in spite of any trauma that I carry, not because of it. Sex work, in my experience, is not a sustainable undertaking if you are not in a good emotional place. I'm asking you to listen to my story, not as representative of the story of all sex workers, but for the sake of hearing what it is for me. I believe we are and should be the authors of our own experience. Did you know that Maya Angelou was a prostitute? Another myth that society teaches us about sex work is that it is different from other work because it is someone selling their body. Speak to any sex worker about what their work experience is like, and you will learn that it is not so different from other work. I do not sell my body any more or less than any other worker. All work involves selling our labor, our time, our skills, our smarts. Sex work is just as much about effective communication and being tech savvy as it is physical touch or seduction skills. Perhaps I digress, but it is my hope to at least call attention to these myths before we have conversations. I haven't told you lies about what I do when I've spoken to you about my life, my work, and my life work, but I've left out this major part of it. I do sex work, and I also have been a political actor in the struggle for sex worker labor rights, destigmatization, and decriminalization. I have organized with other sex workers around the country and done writing and speaking on the struggles that sex workers face in society. My particular focus has been on the history of social reforms that have repressed sex workers and the harmful and dangerous effects of stigma in terms of how this isolates sex workers. To summarize, sex work, the consensual exchange of sexual services for money, is something that I've done safely and effectively for several years now, i.e. it is not a passing phase, it is not trying something on, it is not acting out of desperation, etc. It is something that I've cultivated and have expertise, knowledge, and a political position about such that I can be a resource to others. Now, the second thing that I want to tell you about is relevant to it being LGBTQ Pride Month. Pride Month. That too. I want you to know that I identify as queer and that my gender is non-binary. I am not a heterosexual. My life partner and nesting mate, Raines, who is male and who is also queer, my life partner and nesting mate is Raines, who is male and who is also queer. And I am attracted to and have intimacy with female-bodied people as well as male-bodied people, as well as other non-binary people. Me and Rains's relationship, of course, is open, and we are working hard to make it possible to have our needs met, having intimacy with other people while keeping our wonderful bond strong. My gender expression tends to be what people consider very feminine, which matches my being assigned female at birth, so a lot of people struggle to see me as non-binary or queer, but I am. I use they/them pronouns and have an X on my government ID in place of what used to be F for female. The state has known for a couple years now that I am non-binary, and it recently dawned on me how silly it is that I haven't felt I could get the same acceptance from my family. If you can please start to make the effort of seeing me this way and try to use they/them pronouns and non-gender terms when you refer to me, I would feel seen and so much more at ease in our relating. Here's an example of using they/them pronouns for me. Emma says that their cat, Asada, is very affectionate and humorous with them, but is a bit feisty and skittish around others. And for non-gender terms, you can say, for example, kid instead of daughter, and relative instead of niece. I will not be upset if you make mistakes. Trust me, I live a life of constantly having people assume they know my gender, and I won't be insulted by judgment-free questions about what it means to me. I actually love to talk about gender and queerness, so long as it is respectful and open conversation. It means so much to me to feel that people are listening and putting an effort to treat me as I want to be treated. I think that's a fairly universal need at its root and something that everyone can relate to. To wrap up, I want to thank you for reading all this. I share these things with you, one, as an offering to develop authentic connections, which I very much want to have with you, and two, so that I no longer have to hide when I am so far from ashamed of who I am and what I do. I am proud. I'll leave you with one final thought, a guiding principle for me which I think, when applied regularly, could do so much good in so many situations. I do not need or ask for 100% understanding or acceptance, just curiosity instead of judgment.